Hey everyone, this is Celina. Today I wanted to talk to you about keto and what it is. So keto is a hot fad diet that's going on right now. It is a low carb and high fat diet that promotes eating only 20 grams of net carbs every day. And those carbs are coming from veggies and nuts and trace amounts in meat and cheese. So 20 net carbs, that allows you 50 grams of total carbs. So this can be like your fibers, your sugar alcohols, and your other carbohydrates that you add in. So I'll do a different video on how to do the calculation, but just know that it's very, very small amounts of carbohydrates with a high percentage of fat. So what I mean by high percentage of fat, you're shooting for about 75% of your calories coming from fat. 75 to 80% of your calories coming from fat. So that leaves about 5% of your caloric intake coming from carbs, and then the rest is coming from protein. So 15 to 20%. This is a very small amount of protein. It's about 0.8 grams times your body weight in kilograms. So figure that one out. It's for me, it would be about 70 grams of protein every single day with 20 net grams of carbs and then the rest in fat. So there's a few different ways that you can do keto. There are animal fats and then there are plant fats. Now, animal fats are their own cup of tea. They can cause inflammation. They've been correlated with different types of cancers. So if you are going to do keto, try to do it the plant-friendly way and eat as many veggies as you possibly can. Notice I did not say fruit. Fruit is part of that carbohydrate where you cannot have it because most fruits that we enjoy, like bananas, mangoes, apples, they are incredibly high in sugar and carbohydrates, and there's simply not enough fiber to counteract the carbohydrates in there. Now, if you are looking for some fruits, you can do berries, like raspberries. Blueberries are pretty high in sugar too, so mostly raspberries and blackberries. Now, no strawberries either, unless you're just eating the seeds. So, no fruits, no sugar. Now, sugar is the biggest thing that you're trying to avoid. If you have any sugar in that carbohydrate range that you're allowed, it'll totally knock you out of ketosis because what you're doing is changing your body's fuel source. So our body runs on glycogen, which is stored sugar. Now that is what we are, raised to use. Our body stores it really efficiently, and actually if you have too much protein in your diet, there's this thing called gluconeogenesis, where our body takes the excess amino acids, protein, and converts them into glucose because we simply can't use that much protein. So that is why you want to make sure that you limit your protein intake if you're going to do this. Because if you eat too much, it turns into sugar. So we're trying to avoid that. But going back to the point here, you want to avoid the sugars as much as possible. Limit your proteins. Try to have as many plant carbohydrates as you can, because that's going to keep your body nice and flushed and clean yourself out, I guess. So those are the biggest takeaways. But anyways, going back to your fuel source, keto is changing your body's fuel source from those sugars to fat burning. Now this sounds great, right? Everyone wants to burn more fat. But what you're doing is completely changing the way that your body functions. Rather than storing onto that glycogen, your body is burning through the fat reserves. It's not holding on to water like it was. And after you do keto, first 2 weeks or so, you will notice a rapid weight loss. And that is because your body is not holding on to water anymore. Carbohydrates hold on to water, and then your cells store the water. So in the first couple of weeks, depending on how much weight you have to lose, you could potentially lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks just because your body doesn't hold on to any water anymore. So that's something to keep in mind. You're going to lose a bunch of weight at first, and then it's going to, trickle back down to a normal weight loss. You're always shooting for 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss per week. Any more than that, and it's getting kind of dangerous. So those are the takeaways with keto. Avoid the sugar, 20 net grams of carbs, about 70 grams of protein. I'll do another video on protein and how much you should have, whether you're in ketosis or not. And then, just really focusing on those fats. A lot of people forget that you need to have a bunch of fat in your diet for this to work. So that might mean literally eating just fat. Ever hear of fat bombs? That stuff is just pure coconut oil and then a little bit of protein powder. So just keep that in mind if you're considering this, or if you are on the keto diet already, because you might be doing it wrong. And a little background history on the keto diet is actually created to help treat epilepsy, like seizures. Scientists, I think back in the 30s or 40s, realized that by taking away the carbohydrates, taking away a bunch of the protein in these children's diets, and then replacing it with fat, their seizures were all pretty much gone. Their epilepsy was treated. Now this is a lifestyle that they had to follow. If they went back to eating carbohydrates, the seizures started to come back. So this was a lifestyle change that was medically necessary. Now I experimented with ketosis a couple of times, with a keto diet a couple of times. Initially I was doing it wrong. I was eating way too many carbs, way too much protein, and I didn't understand that I was trying to eat more fat, not more protein. And then the second time around, I did more research, I started, reading up on it, and that is when I realized that I was doing it wrong. So I changed my diet completely. I started to eat more I did start to eat more animal fats and more animal proteins, and then I started to scale that back and replaced it with the plant fats. I was on the keto diet for 5 or 6 months, and I also did intermittent fasting along with it. And I felt okay while I was doing it. I was still working out at the time, and my weightlifting was dramatically decreased. And my energy levels in the gym, they were pretty bad. I would have headaches, and I wasn't functioning the way I should. And at the time, I was also under a lot of stress, so maybe that had something to do with it. But at the time, I was eating, heavy whipping cream with my coffee. I was eating eggs every single day. And I was eating, as many veggies as I could fit in there too. Lots of salads, lots of stir fries. But about 3 months into it, I started to get really sick. I was having a lot of GI problems. I will not get into all the nitty-gritty details, but just know that my gastrointestinal tract was not happy with me. And I didn't know what it was at first because I had never had a problem with dairy, and I had gotten over my egg allergies, so I didn't know what it was. And after about a month or so more of dealing with all of the issues I was dealing with, I said, forget about this, I'm gonna go back to normal eating. And once I did, that meant more carbs, fewer eggs, and almost no dairy again, because I was not eating very much dairy before the keto diet. I started to feel better. And I didn't quite make the correlation at the time that you might be lactose intolerant, you might be ovo intolerant. Now, if I were to do the keto diet again, it would be kind of tricky, but possible, to leave out all the animal fats, leave out, the eggs and everything. It is possible to do vegan keto, but very tricky, and you would definitely need some kind of supplementation. Now, I'm not saying that the keto diet caused the lactose intolerance or caused the egg allergy. It might have been the stress and my body rejecting whatever it was that was going on at the time. But who knows? I can't eat it now, and I just wanted to share it with you that that is my story. I don't do keto anymore, and I eat a pretty balanced diet of carbs, protein, and fat, and I'm pretty happy. So just take away all of that and remind yourself that it's really the sugar that we're trying to avoid, not necessarily the carbohydrates. So I hope that helped. I will be doing more videos on keto, on my experience, and how to do all the numbers, just in case you do want to try it out for yourself. So this was Celina. Make sure to like and subscribe my videos on YouTube at Work, Eat, Repeat, and I'll catch you next time.